What do you characterize as an A player?
An A player to me, you know, it's hard for me to say that because with all the mentorship that I've had, everything is data driven. You know what I mean? But for me, what has worked has been like being led by my intuition and like understanding what somebody has been through to get right here and the reason why that they're in front of me. And I believe that people have a lot more inside of them that they even know that they have. And so I think an A player is somebody who has the ability to morph and learn and be molded into something that is great because they already have it in them. They need to believe in it. We're responsible, not responsible, but I feel obligated to bring it out of them. And once they're in their superpower, you would be amazed at what some of these people can do.
Welcome back to Make America Remote Again. I'm here with Jennifer Nicholson. So excited to have her on. Jen and I met about a year ago or so, right?
Yeah.
And, before we dive into what she does, which is very similar to mine, it's actually a very funny story. I'm always curious, how did you end up in Medellin, Colombia?
Oh, man. Well, it's a love story. I moved here to be with my husband, and I am the silly girl who took a chance on love, moved to a completely different country I've never been to before, didn't know the native language, but it didn't matter to me at the time. And I'm so glad I took that leap of faith because it changed my life completely for the best.
I love that. How long was that?
That was 12 years ago.
12 years ago. So a lot of people, when they meet myself and my good friends here, they're like, you guys are the OGs. But this is the real OGs who were here like...
Yeah, I was here before it was cool to be here.
Yes.
And it was hard to be here.
Right. I think it got cool around like 2017, 2018. But anyone that was here like 2015, 2014, right around when you got here, there was no gringos. Like it was completely empty. No. Calle 10, which is the most famous street. And then the idea of HAVA. Mm-hmm. So her company is named HAVA. And for those of you who don't know, my very first company was called FAVA, or some people call it FAVA. And it's a funny story because she heard about me.
Yeah.
And I heard about her as well. But, at the time there was like, let's get into it. So HAVA, what is the story of HAVA? How did you come up with that name? And what is HAVA?
Well, so HAVA stands for Hire a Virtual Assistant. Real simple. We went through a few different names before that. Originally, we were Heartbeat Connections. And my dad made a comment to me saying that it sounded like we were a dating company. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So honestly, I just meditated on a few different things and it just came to me. I was thinking about like some of the biggest brands like Apple. It's like one syllable. Mm-hmm. It's strong. It's confusing a little bit. So it makes you want to know more. And then I think I remember just saying it to my husband and he was like, that's it.
Yeah.
So we ran with it.
I like it. It's not hell yeah virtual assistant.
Yeah, it's not effing awesome virtual assistant.
Yeah, that's funny. So FAVA at the time stood for freaking awesome virtual assistants because I didn't intend on starting a business for VAs. I was just like, just call it freaking awesome virtual assistants, but you actually had an intention of starting this. So where did the idea come of hiring virtual assistants? And I'm assuming it happened when you were here.
Yeah. Well, I got here and I realized that I would need to get a job in some way, right? So my husband was working in the call centers. It was a really strenuous situation. He would have to leave really early. I was here by myself. I was lonely. He would have to get on public transportation. It took hours for him to get home at night. And I was like, I've got this is not going to work for me. So I started to go online and look for jobs. And, I started off, I think, the beginning of time, it was like freelancer.com. Then it turned into Elance and it turned into Owork. Then it turned into Upwork. And I found a client that I got to, really grow with and learn operations and excel. And then he started to take me to these, conventions where I was meeting other vendors that are similar to him. And I started to gain a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And they needed the same type of work that I was providing my client, right? So, my husband was our second employee, and then we started to pull his friends out of the call centers and started to give them jobs that are very similar to what my client was needing me for. So customer service, operations, administrative assistance. And I started to teach them, like they would come to my kitchen and I trained them on Zendesk and like how to, create a macro and all of the things that are necessary to build and maintain an e-commerce brand.
Got it. I mean, that's pretty cool. So it was almost an accident.
Yeah.
Like, you getting here was an accident, kind of. You're like, okay, I'm in love, but like moving to Colombia is already kind of like, especially in 2014, 2015, like that's, I mean, a little, whatever the year was. I mean, and then the whole journey of, you were like a VA at first, essentially.
Yeah, I was a VA,
and then you were training them, which is awesome. So then the idea, we're like, okay, maybe there's companies that need this.
Yeah.
So who was your first client? How did you get your first client?
My first client was Six Pack Shortcuts. I don't know if you guys have seen Mike Chang, his YouTube videos, but he has a supplement brand and some info products. And so I met actually his team at a convention that I was at and told them about what I do for my client and that I have other people that have the same level of English and ambition and that I would love to build out a team for them. And so we started with 1 or 2 agents. We grew that team to 12 people and we were managing pretty much all of their operations. We actually beat out all of the teams that they had in the Philippines and even in Austin, Texas. And we were like the last one standing until, whatever happened with their company. But they were my first ones. And we kind of stayed in that health and fitness industry. But then I realized like there are so many different niches for me to touch. So I started to, put my foot out the door and go and find, different types of brands and businesses that would possibly need the same type of support, but it looks a little bit different. Yeah. And then we just optimize and customize for them.
And one of the things that Jen does differently, and I'm sure you've started this from the beginning, was you did the VAs working for you from the start, right? Where we are more like a headhunter. Hence why, like, we're not really competitors. Like, you say, hey, you either want to hire directly or you would rather just outsource it to someone. There's pros and cons to both, right? That's the reality.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more tactics. This is something interesting. What have you seen the biggest difference since when you first started with the VAs compared to the VAs today that you're hiring? Like, what are the biggest differences?
Oh, wow. Like as far as the VAs themselves or
their skill, their experience, skill? Like, do you feel like they're like much more experienced and knowledgeable today? Or do you feel like...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started this before COVID. So, the use of CRMs and, most common type of platforms was... nobody knew about them. So I had to build that training and those processes around that. But then once COVID hit, then all of these businesses had to go remote, right? And so they started, it became more of a normal process in their training. So now, when I'm looking for VAs or we're recruiting and we're finding talent, they already have those skill sets. They already have the experience that are on those types of platforms. And some of them are experts at it because they've had to figure it out as their business was going remote. So I would say the knowledge is there. Also, just the ability to, everything is at our fingertips now. And I think that learning that you can make a living by working from home or working remotely is very well known now. For sure. Like, they think it's possible. Yeah. Everybody used to think it was a scam. Like, I remember I got offered a job here to go be remote, a VA, and I had to go to some guy's house. And I was like, this is scary. Like, I'm not sure if I want to do this. Yeah. My husband was like, don't do that. Like, I'm not letting that happen. Yeah. So, now, especially in Colombia, it's like, it was weird. It was weird, and then he was going to pay me under the table. Like, I wanted to make sure I stayed away from that stigma. But now it's so well known that, you can be a freelancer and you can work from anywhere in the world as long as you got internet and a laptop or even a phone. So, it's more accessible to everyone.
Michael Chang was your first client. So what year are we talking about here?
Oh, man. I think I want to say 2015, 16. Yeah, 16, 17.
So you're a double OG. You're an OG of Colombia and you're an OG in the VA space. Because like all the ones that I know of, the big ones, even they're like 5 years old, 4 years old. Even us, we're like coming up on 5 years, So it's pretty cool. So then you got that, and then you're like, okay, I have something here. Yeah. You got paid. You're like, okay, there's something here. what was the mindset of like, okay, I want to scale this, and I think there's an opportunity here. So what were some tactics you used to go from like 1 client to 10 to 30, and we'll talk about your vision here.
So I absolutely realized this was something that was really beautiful, was blossoming from this. But we had so many limitations, especially here in Colombia. Like, to pay my agents, my husband would literally go from ATM to ATM and withdraw cash because it was impossible to get money from there over here. Crazy. And so I said, listen, there's no way this is scalable. We have to fix the processing for, receiving funds. The best way I knew how to do that is to create a business, right? So I felt like the only way to really scale was to go legit and to create a business out here so that I can, contract clients and receive funds easily so that people here, my VAs, have the stability and the security, to stay hired with me. So that was one of the things. As far as, getting more clients, honestly, I think I really lucked out in the industry that I kind of like birthed myself into. I built myself a really strong reputation with my operational skills and strengths. And, people trusted me a lot. So, I started to build out relationships with the networks of the clients that I currently had. So they were selling on these affiliate marketplaces. And so I started to go to the networks and build partnerships with them, showing them, hey, when your clients hire me with my operational, processes and strategies, they end up, with lower chargeback rates, lower refund rates. Mm-hmm. Tell your clients to come to me first, and so that worked out amazing. And started to really, become a powerhouse for them as well, because the better standing that their vendors are in, the more money they end up making as well, right? So it was a win-win situation for everybody.
And this was in the fitness industry?
Yeah, like the fitness, wellness, health, health info products, and then supplements mostly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, so you build a good reputation there. If you were to start like today, mm-hmm. what would you do in order to grow in this space? Because it's much more competitive today.
Right.
You need, I have my own thoughts and ideas, but like, what would you do if you had to restart knowing what you know today?
I would lead scrape and hire a cold caller and then set up automations around communicating with people that possibly would need our service, which is literally everybody, right? So you pick a niche and you start testing the leads for that. It's really easy to find leads at this point, especially business to business. B2C is a complete different beast, right? Sure. But when you're looking to give a service to another business, you have more capabilities to email them or to text them or to call them. So, finding leads is pretty easy. Pick an industry, offer your services to them, and don't stop until you get them.
Don't stop till you get enough.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the one leash, one leads, because the one tricky part about our industry is that we can work with anyone.
Yeah.
Your husband's mom needs a VA, you can help her. Yes. The dollar store across the street, like a multi-billion-dollar company. So it's really, really hard to say no.
Right.
And I think that's been something that we've been challenged with as much as possible. And when we went to Alex Ramos's offices and we spoke with him and his team, they literally made it very clear to us. They're like, yo, you guys need to cut off a lot of your roles and stick to a couple industries.
Yeah.
So today, what industries do you guys specialize in and what roles do you guys work with?
I would say the industries that I would say it's a little bit different. Okay. So, we can support any industry that our clients are in. However, e-commerce, like we need them to be selling to people online. Okay. I don't care if they're selling knickknacks or patty wax. Like honestly, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But they need to have a business model that we understand and know how to optimize their processes based off of the platforms that they're on, their merchant processing, all of that. So e-commerce And, that's pretty much it. E-commerce. And then, for the call center, for the physical location, that's, reserved for businesses that need outbound callers. They need people on the phones. They still understand that, telecommunications and telemarketing is more than alive. 100%. It's still more than alive. Yeah. And so I would say those are the two things.
I love it. And e-com is a huge one. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's growing every single day. And I'm sure after COVID, you guys just saw an increase in business just because that's where a lot of people went in that industry they went to. So what do you think are some pros of your type of model? Right? Not just HAVA in general, but what do you think of pros? If I'm a client, I'm oblivious. I'm looking at Upwork, I'm looking at a remote Latino type of thing. Like, what are pros of HAVA and in general, the outsourcing model?
Yeah, definitely the pros is that we work as a staffing agency. So, if you're looking for somebody on Upwork and you hire them, you go through 3 weeks of training and then that person disappears, you're at a loss. For us, we'll find you a dedicated person. We'll actually use our brains and hand pick based off of skill sets. You won't have to go through that. And then if that person disappears, which they usually don't because they're fully secured through my company, then we'll find you a replacement. And we'll also, retrain that person on the house up to 20 hours. So essentially you get a full working, recruiting machine and management team behind you. And not only do you get your dedicated agent that's actually executing the work, you also get one of my project managers on the house. So that person is there to, schedule meetings. They essentially act as me. So if you hire somebody for me, and you don't like what's going on, or maybe that person's attendance isn't, cohesive, it's not there, you can come to your dedicated project manager and say, hey, this isn't working out. And then your project manager obviously will create some solutions. We'll give it a certain amount of time for their performance to improve. If not, your project manager will go back to, the drawing board for you, and we'll restart the entire hiring process for you. And then, continuously we'll manage their performance and make sure they're hitting KPIs. We'll make sure that they're hitting their deadlines so you won't have to do it. And that's essentially the objective of this business, is to make sure that the innovators, the big thinkers of these businesses have the time to do that. Right. I want them to do that so we can do the rest.
Yes. I used to be against this model, not gonna lie, not HAVA. But then I realized the bigger I built the business, I'm like, I think both things make sense.
They both work.
Yeah, it just depends what you want and how much do you want to spend on learning the process and actually doing the process versus how much you want to outsource the process. Right. And I used to think I think smaller companies is better, but honestly, I'm sure you have clients that have hired a lot of people and they're making millions of dollars and they just don't want to deal with that headache. Right. And I have clients that are level 1 just starting out and they want to figure out all the headaches. Right. Yeah. So I think there's pros and cons to both models. Absolutely. 100%. Tell me, what would you say your biggest strengths are in terms of the roles you guys have? Is there is there any specialties you guys focus on?
I would say customer service and retention through all the communication channels, and that would be B2C. So live chat, phone, email support, and then administrative assistance. I've got a lot of really incredibly talented and sharp people who really just want to be the right-hand man for, a busy executive or a CEO. And they understand the organizational processes that need to be put in place. Yep. And a lot of times we get these CEOs that are, they've got so many ideas and they're a mess and they haven't written anything down and they don't know how to manage all of the departments and they don't know what the status of this project is. We come in and we clean up house and we start to organize things so that, everything is running like a well-oiled machine. So I would say, operations, we're freaking experts. We're masters at it. So yeah, I would say that.
More of the back end. Okay.
Yeah,
I love
for
that.
Sure.
So I want to talk about two things that I think a lot of people would find a lot of value in this, which was number one is your recruiting process. What is your guys' recruiting process? Because it's interesting. You guys only recruit in Medellin.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever recruit people and move them here? Does that happen?
I have before.
Okay.
Yes.
But I'm assuming most of it is here, right?
It also depends on the positions, right? So we have on-site positions available in the call center here in El Poblado. And then we have remote positions as well. But I only do recruiting in Colombia. So I have people in Bogota, Cali, Barranquilla. I have people all over. But if it's on site, obviously I need them to get there. I have relocated a few people. Some of them have worked out and some of them have not. But, you know, it's definitely something that if I think that it's worth it, and I put a lot of my heart and soul into this, and I believe in people. So when they come to me with, you know, a genuine heart and desire to work, I put my money on them.
Yeah, that's huge. So walk me through the recruiting process. Let's say you guys need like an executive assistant and you don't have someone on staff right now. Maybe you sign up a new client, whatever. How do you guys start? Where do you guys have recruiters? Is it job ads? Like, what does that look like?
We have a talent management department. So we've got a large, you know, bookshelf full of applications from people over several years. And they're all categorized, in the different skill sets, like whether they're, you know, creative graphic designers, or maybe they've got, a sales background, things of that nature. So, our talent management goes through those profiles and starts to handpick. And then they talk directly to the project manager, because each project manager is assigned a client. And then the project manager reviews those handpicked candidates and says like, yes or no, or I think maybe this guy would like somebody with this skill set, you know what I mean? And then we pre-screen them. So we have an interview, make sure they're still available. And then we set them up with the client for an interview.
How do they find you guys? Is it like through the talent management? Like,
you know what? Lucky for me, it's a lot of referral based stuff. I do run some advertisements based off of maybe any, like anywhere where I feel we're lacking in having like a solid base or pool of agents or candidates. But for the most part, you listen, every great person knows other great people.
Every great client also knows other great clients.
There you go. So the best way possible is to ask the people that are already working for you, who are happy, to tell their friends, to tell their family. I have an entire family that works for HAVA.
I love that.
Like brothers, sisters, cousins. So, you know, I think that's the way I prefer. But obviously, once you get to a point, you got to scale. You got to start looking outside the box.
What are the steps they take in order to become qualified with you? And I'll give you an example. Like for us, we have like an application process, then they do an interview, then an AI interview, and they do a video and resume and all that stuff. But I heard we have a competitor. Actually, you have a competitor. I'm not going to say who they are.
Oh no.
That has a really strict process because my hiring consultant, his girlfriend just started working there recently.
Okay.
And she was telling me it's like she's applying to Harvard.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
the craziest thing ever. And like, I get parts of that. Like, hey, let's be strict, but also like the amount of talent that you lose when you do that. So you have to find a balance. You don't want to be the easiest company.
Right.
And you're also not hiring SpaceX, Tesla employees. So what is your process of qualifying? That's the first part. And then what do you identify an A player? What does that mean to you?
Okay. So our process for, you know, qualifying, number one is filling out our application. Okay. And then getting into a quick interview with my talent management manager. Okay. And she will evaluate your level of English, your skill sets, you know, how quickly you can, you know, talk off the fly. If she's talking about sales, you know what I mean? Like she does a lot of our qualifying. I don't require any videos just yet, but some clients do request it. So I'll make adjustments based off of their requests, but I give them, you know, enough information to understand what that person looks like on paper. And then they have the opportunity to have a virtual call and interview, and then they make their choice. And that seems to work just perfectly fine. Yeah. And the qualifying on the agent side is, you know, just do the right things and give us the information that we're asking for. Do it in a timely manner. Show up, and chances are you'll have a pretty good running. Because I don't necessarily believe that somebody needs to have. I don't think that we need to go through all the hoops. Like, we don't need to jump through all of the hoops and have to have, you know, eight degrees. Yeah. I don't need to do a background check. I don't believe in that, especially the nature of some of, you know, the people that are here. I believe that their privacy should be respected. and that having a good, ambitious, a hunger for life of learning, and providing financial stability to themselves and their family outweighs anybody that has, a degree at Harvard.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. What do you characterize as an A player?
An A player to me, it's hard for me to say that because with all the mentorship that I've had, everything is data driven. You know what I mean? But for me, what has worked has been like being led by my intuition and like understanding what somebody has been through to get right here and the reason why that they're in front of me. And I believe that people have a lot more inside of them that they even know that they have. And so I think an A player is somebody who has the ability to morph and learn and be molded into something that is great because they already have it in them. They need to believe in it. We're responsible, not responsible, but I feel obligated to bring it out of them. And once they're in their superpower, you would be amazed at what some of these people can do.
Yeah.
And what anyone can do.
Yeah.
I was amazed when I got into my genius zone, what I was capable of.
For sure.
So I know that everybody has it in them. And I think A players make everyone around them greater as well.
Yeah. A players only want to be surrounded by A players, right? Or people that I always say there's 3 people you want to hire. A players, B players with A player potential, and eventually B players, people that just hit KPI. And so if you have a huge organization, like you're not going to have all A players. It's literally impossible. Yeah. So I think in the beginning, your first like 10, 20, 30 people, your executive team, your leadership team, they need to be A players for sure. So that's really interesting. Now, so they go through the process, and then one of the things that you guys do is the training. Walk me through that. What is that training? What do you guys train people on? I know I'm sure it's a little bit different for each role, but like for instance, for like an executive assistant, what is it the training you guys have them go through and ensure basically success? Because I mean, I know you don't get too many replacements. So what is that? How do you make sure that doesn't happen through training and through the onboarding?
Well, the project manager that I assign to that client and to that agent is usually fully trained in the tasks that they're going to be doing. So we'll be basically combining the client's, product knowledge or services, whatever it is that they're selling. We need to understand what the client's needs are. And then the project manager basically, gets them onboarded to any platforms that we already are proficient in, trains them through that, shadows them during the training. So it is very customized because every client, sometimes we'll get a new client that's already up on Salesforce, so then it's our responsibility to train our agent on Salesforce and get them up to speed on how to use the processes that the client has, or we build them ourselves.
Got it.
So it's very customized, but the project manager has an idea or at least has experience in those things, and we'll train that agent.
So the way I see, if I was to translate this into like someone that wants to hire someone, is that you better know how to do certain things if you're going to hire someone, unless you go to HAVA. If you're going to go like, let's say Upwork or even our marketplace, you better know how to utilize either the software, the platform, set appointments. Sometimes people hire and they have no idea what to do. They have no idea what to look for. And then they're like, I'm going to hire someone. They're going to figure it out. And I'm like, dude, that's such a dangerous game to play. Like you don't need to be an expert. Right. But just knowing enough, like I'm sure you guys don't know every single thing about Salesforce, but just how does the client use it? What will this person do on a regular basis? It's probably like, hey, how do you dial from this? How do you enter notes? How do you follow up? It's the basics, right?
Yeah.
And some people just want to completely outsource that. And I think that's the craziest thing ever. So most of your team's in Colombia. I mean, we've hired a lot of people in Colombia.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone out to other Latin American countries and tried other talent, or has this been just here?
It's been mostly just here. I've never really thought about it because kind of our mission is to support the Colombian people. But ultimately, I would love to have, HAVA become international. We do have an agent in Ghana, Africa. So I'm looking to kind of explore some of the talent there. They're very creative and technical.
Good English?
Great English. Yeah. They're great at recording content. So that might be something I explore, but I think that's in the future. Yeah. But for right now, I'm still looking to, master it in Colombia.
I mean, the thing about, we know like 5 recruiting companies here personally, plus like ones that we don't even know about, and we're all here. Yeah. Right. But like, we've expanded, we hire like all over. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we've noticed with Colombians is, because I believe last year, I said this on the last podcast and I could be exaggerating, but I believe last year Colombia had 4 million tourists.
Oh, yeah.
Which is insane to think about, which means that even if it's like 1 million, right? That's a lot of people. That means that they're all the time, there's like new culture that comes in, and they're even the culture they're so used to. Yeah. The good and the bad, right? So that makes them a lot more aware of, like, especially with American businesses, they just makes them more aware and connected. Yeah. Like, they get sarcasm, they get like the things that we watch, and they watch it and they listen to the same music. Right. Where someone like in Ghana or Philippines, it's a little bit more disconnected. Yeah. Right. So I have found that the best roles to hire in Colombia are client-facing roles, like people that talk face-to-face, customer service, sales, whatever. They just get it. Yeah. And I don't know if you found that as well. And then also, what do you, in your experience, what do you feel like makes Colombians just different and like such an amazing people you want to hire there? Like, why Colombia?
That's a really good question. I guess I've never truly thought about this specific things. I always say that there's something in the water out here, because it's just, they're so ambitious and humble and like ready to figure it out. They're extremely resourceful. They're joyful. They're like fun to be around. And, I'm probably a little bit biased because I fell in love with a Colombian. And so I just love being in this place. I think that Colombians are very patriotic as well, and they love being Colombian. Yes. And of course, me coming in as an outsider, I want to make sure that, I represent them in the best way possible and let them know that like I'm a ride or die for them, because they gave me a home. They welcomed me in, and I want to pay them back for that. So I think that there's just something so unique about these people here. Yes, something in the water, man.
There's something in the water.
Something in the water.
And we get to drink
it. Yeah.
The tap water, actually, which is so funny. It's the only place in the world that'll drink the tap water, which is really funny. But no, I totally agree. I think it's like the culture here. Yeah. I think the people are so warm. I think they've been through a lot of stuff as well, ups and downs. I think there has been an expat move here that has been positive. Yeah. Some of them, but it's also been an expat move that's very negative, and they come here for the wrong reasons, whether they're expats or, tourists, and they come for the wrong reason. So I just think they've been attacked, especially in the media in the US. I don't know about you. I mean, I'm sure you also, but when I first came here, I didn't want to come here because I was like, this is dangerous, narcos. Like, my mom was like, we literally want the green card and you want to come to Colombia. What is wrong with you? That's crazy. So I can't even imagine, you said 12 years. Yeah. 12 years ago, like, 2013, it's like, what, like, you probably even more sketched out, because it's like they just finished such a tough part of like the 2000s, going through, Pablo Escobar in the 90s and all that stuff. But because of all that, I think it made them stronger. I think it made them more loyal and faithful, and just, I believe, because I've hired Americans and I've hired, all types of people, I believe that they're so grateful. Yeah. They just want something better, and they want to have an opportunity to take care of their family. They want to travel to other places. My favorite part about Colombia is, I won't say my favorite, but one of my favorite parts about Colombia is that you and I probably don't know. I mean, I don't know 80% of Colombia. Right. Like, literally, I have not been to so many places here, and I'm like, so much. There's so much here. There's nature here, and there's museums, and like, I mean, we could spend years just exploring Colombia.
Just exploring it. Yep.
It feels like it's, I don't know how to explain it to people, because I just live in Medellin. I'm just like in this bubble, and we go to Cartagena and then Santa Marta, and then, right. So I just think people here are so grateful, and they're amazing. And there's like, you want to work with them. Right. So I think when people, they work with HAVA, they work with remote Latinos, and they get on a call with a Colombian, they're like, this is what I want. Yeah. And it's a really good feeling. Let's talk a little bit about retaining and retention. So what do you see are things that you guys are doing and with your VAs in order to retain them long term? Because it's easy to get them a job, it's easy to get them paid. Hey, here's an opportunity that's better than your call center opportunity. But how do you retain, especially an A player? How do you make sure that they stay with you long term?
Yeah. So definitely making sure that they're fully contracted, right? So that they're they're giving their healthcare and benefits and social securities, which we offer to, a select few, and they have to make it through that trial period to, get a
So you guys offer
contract.
benefits to your...
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And how long do they have to be with you until?
At least 160 days.
Okay, so about almost half a year.
Yeah.
So at that point, you have a pretty good feeling about them too.
Right.
You're like, okay, they've been here for 6 months.
Yeah. And, they already start off making dollars, right? So that's another thing that keeps them around, because sometimes the dollar hits 4.9. Yeah. You know what I mean?
5.2. I remember the 5.2 days.
Yeah. And when I first got here, it was only at 2.5.
That's crazy.
Okay. So some of my agents have been with me since the beginning of time. Like, they're still with me. Yeah. From that 6-pack shortcuts, all of them are still with me.
Almost 10 years,
yeah. Well, yeah, like 8 years.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So, of course they get, performance enhancements and raises. They get more responsibility. I think that that's really important. Like, I never want them to just be, answering a simple customer service email. Yeah. Like, I want to make sure that they climb the ladder in their superiority with the level of tasks and like brain power. I want to make sure that they're challenged, right? So that they feel like they're going and doing something that's, actually, makes a difference in the client's business. And then, we also have fun. Like, I go over to Bogota, take them out to eat. We do something. I just planned a project management retreat here and got a big old finca. We're going to, do some leadership stuff. So I think that cultivating, an environment that supports, that they feel supported in, that they can be themselves, have fun. And of course I restaff them, right? So like if one of their projects ends, like, they know that it's not the end with me. Like, I'm constantly having new opportunities. So there's really no, if a project ends, they don't have to go out and look for another job. They just need to wait for an email from us and be like, hey, we've got this other opportunity. Yes. Would you like to apply? Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's really nowhere for them to go. I've trapped them.
I love it. You just gave a long-winded answer, which I appreciate, to the word culture.
Yeah.
It's literally culture, like, right? It's like giving people the pay, helping them out, understanding what they want to do, helping them level up, and then just giving them a great environment. One of the things that I'm like looking forward to this year is I've met a lot of my team members. I haven't met all of them. So we want to bring all of us together, about 20 of us, into like a house, leadership team and so on and so forth. I think that's going to be...
It's so much fun, too.
Yeah. It's just because we're always remote, right? And I know you guys have an office, but like majority of your team's remote. Right. So I feel like it's like, at the end of the day, we're still humans. No matter how, with the computers and internet, on social media, like our DNA, where we come from, and it's not like technology's been around for 5,000 years. Like, there's been no technology longer than there's been technology. Right. And in our DNA, I think we want to be in person. We want to get to know each other. We want to, really feel that love. And that's like, I think in my opinion, that's the one thing that remote will never replace with office. Absolutely. And you and I both agree with that. And as much as me and you love remote and all that stuff. And another thing is that I love what you just said is we've said the word VAs a lot, but I feel like your team members are not VAs. No, I don't. They're not. Your name is HAVA as well. But I feel like, I don't know how you feel, but I feel that the word VA when I think of a VA, I think of a very low level, entry level person, barely speaking English, kind of, I don't say sketchy, but like they're in that beginner role where you've had people for years. They're not VAs. They're high level performers. They're professionals. If they didn't work with you, they're finding a job within 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah. Those are not VAs. Yeah. Right. And I don't know how you feel about the term VA itself.
I don't like it. I usually don't use it. I usually say something like my team member or a member of my team. A VA to me sounds like a robot or something like that.
Yes, like someone that doesn't speak in English. Right. Guys, you heard it here first. HAVA is rebranding to Hatam. Hire a team member starting tomorrow. Yeah, so
there we go.
I just...
Hire a team member.
Hire a team member.
It even makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's also like, they don't want to be called VAs either, and even like, we call them real professionals. We wanted to call them remoters, but another company started calling them that. But I want to, one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of people, even people in the US, yes, they're inspired by the role. Yes, they're inspired by the pay, but their position in the company and what other people see them as, I think it like truly makes a difference for a lot of people. So if they're just looked on as like, you're my VA, because the way I see it, and I've told this to people, we're VAs as well. You were a VA in the beginning. You're still a VA.
Yeah.
You're still assisting people virtually.
Absolutely.
So am I every single day, or or an RA, remote assistance, right? So tell me a little bit about, you mentioned you want to help Colombians. Like, what is your mission vision for this company?
Well, our mission is to give, Colombian nationals the tools, the vision, and the resources to create their own dream life right here. I think, we've talked a lot about the pressure of, people wanting to go to America to build the American dream and to make dollars, when I think it's absolutely perfect just exactly where they are. And that I would love to contribute to them building that type of financial stability, which they think they're going to get it in the United States. We're probably not even going to get it there, right? So, that's our mission. Our mission is to, also remove the stigma of a VA, just like what you talked about, like not having any skills or just being like a very low level, entry level worker, which of course we support, but I want to humanize that position, that we've got talent in multiple different facets and ways. And our experiences actually make us, more suitable to bringing a different flavor or a different idea, maybe even a different mindset or perception, to make their business better. A lot of the feedback that we get from my clients' customers, as they're talking with my agents, is like, I've never had this experience in my life. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to somebody who really understood what the problem was, and you helped me solve it. So I think that our mission is to humanize the work that, sometimes can be looked down upon, and then provide financial freedom to the Colombian nationals and give them a stable place to be respected and to make dollars. Like, make that money.
Go make that money. You mentioned something earlier with the benefits. Do you think VAs, or like VAs, what do I call this? I'm calling them. Do you think people want benefits? Let me ask you this. From your experience, would they prefer benefits or getting paid better?
I think a little bit of both. And some are I think that having those two options available is necessary, right? Because some of, my agents have families and they're supporting their families. They need healthcare. Their kids are, they're small, or, all of that. And then there are some, just lone wolf, just, bachelors or whatever. They only have themselves to worry about. Give me the money.
Yes.
And then I'll see you later. Like, my health is good. I haven't been to the hospital in
ever.
Yeah. So I'm fine. So, having those two options is there. I think it's necessary.
Sure. I like it. Tell me, so I love your mission vision, helping Colombians. We're both part of a community here, and we raise money for charities, which feels really cool. I just had a really good question right now in my head. With your retention, wow, I literally just had a really good question. Oh, so you guys are currently staffing, how many people do you guys have?
We've got about 85, and just constantly growing. Yeah.
85. That's crazy. So almost 100.
Yeah.
How big do you want to get this?
I don't have a number for it just yet.
Okay.
I definitely think we have the ability to be between 300 and 500 just here in Colombia.
Wow.
And I think at that point, I would then want to start branching out to different countries. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah.
And you're basically a third of the way there.
Yeah.
A third, fourth. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. So 80, they're all over Colombia.
Yeah.
And, what do you think is the future of remote work and the future of the space that we're both in? Because times are changing.
Yeah.
I have, some of me is very optimistic, and I'm like, let's go AI. Yes.
Yes.
And some of me's like, ooh, man, there's going to be a lot of people without jobs.
Yeah.
A lot. So what do you think is the future of this? This is a two-part question. Okay. The future of the remote world and the future of the staffing agency, the recruiting world.
I think humans are always going to be needed. Okay. And that the way that I see it is that AI can come in and, at the bottom. It can take care of a lot of the bottom stuff.
Like
the
what?
humans are going to need to be on top of the AI. They're going to be.
What do you mean? So when you say bottom, what type of bottom stuff? Like admin work?
No, not even admin work. I guess like the tedious work, maybe like data entry, management of files and things of that nature. They can automate a lot of workflow processes, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, a human will need to do something with it, right? Yeah. They're going to need to manage it. Not only that, they're going to need to set it up. AI doesn't just, come in and be like, hey, I figured out how to do this without your permission. Someone's going to have to recognize and know that this workflow needs to be, built out. They're going to have to build it. They're going to have to manage it. They're going to have to optimize it and refine these, AI agents. And they're going to need to manage that entire operations. Then you can utilize that person for other, higher level responsibilities and tasks, right? So ultimately, I don't think an AI agent is ever going to replace a CEO.
No.
It'll
help a CEO.
It'll help a CEO.
Help him make CEO decisions.
Right.
But to truly replace you, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I also don't think that it's going to replace higher level executives.
Right.
And what I do think is that instead of hiring 10 remote workers, right, you might can only hire a couple, and then they have so much AI help that you don't need to overstaff.
Right.
That's what I think I think that's going to happen. I think, we're already seeing this right now with, one of my roommates has an AI page, AI conversations.
I know, I've seen them.
It's pretty crazy. It's all AI.
Yeah.
It's 100% AI. Yeah. And he made a video about a Chinese platform that Chinese platform that helps with like AI 3D design.
Okay.
And it blew up. They had like 2 million views, but all the comments were like, "How dare you? You're getting rid of jobs, because we're 3D printer." They're like, there's all these people that are like, they're realizing that their jobs are just about obsolete.
Yeah.
And I think designing work and like creative work is going to be slowly deteriorating unless you know how to combine the two. Yeah. So you have to have the mindset of, what do I want? How is it going to look? What's going to help people? What's going to bring attention?
Right.
And also, how is AI going to create it?
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying that there has to be some type of marriage between humans and this type of work that AI can do. To be honest with you, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about what it's going to look like. I'm focused on, building what I already have and, just propelling. So whatever happens, I know that I'll figure a way around it. Yeah. And that's what, being a CEO and being, an entrepreneur is all about. It's about problem solving and finding a way, finding a path. And if it's not there, I'm going to build it.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So as we wrap up, last few things here, what is the craziest story you have with one of your workers, or maybe an interview story or something that you were just like, wow?
Oh man.
I'll share with you so you can think about something.
Okay.
But I had a lady, I just said this on the podcast, that she went through the process, spoke perfect English, everything seemed perfect. I'm so excited to interview her. And then she had a tattoo on her neck. Not a big deal, but it said fuck.
Oh yeah, you did tell me.
It's crazy. That's a crazy one. I'll never forget this. That's one. I'll tell you another one. This is crazy. I had someone get interviewed in their bed, like basically naked, which was pretty insane. Like they were under sheets and they were like kind of interviewing. You could tell, like, and it was a girl too. And I was just like, I just don't understand how you do any form of research and you're like, this is okay, this is acceptable. So, and the last one is, we had a girl that in her portfolio. So, she was a designer. In her portfolio, she had it was really professional portfolio. It was like, wow, like all these drawings and pictures and designing and all that stuff. And then OnlyFans pictures.
Oh my gosh.
So not too much funny, but that's a crazy one. I know. Is there anything you can share that's been like maybe interesting, maybe anything unique that's like?
Well, there's been those, when you misread a person, wildly, right? So actually one of the agents that I did actually relocate from Bogota to Medellin, gave her an advance, put her up in a place to stay so that she could go through training. Literally, she flies in. I pick her up from the airport, and man,
was it immediately like when you picked her up, you knew?
No, I guess kind of. Okay. It was like she then was just completely like I basically moved her here so she could be with her boyfriend. Okay, she disappeared with her boyfriend, never even showed up for the first day of training. She took the money and, you know, went out and had a great time with her boyfriend. So she got a great vacation. You know, the interviews and the Zoom mishaps, those are always fun. Yeah, those are always hilarious. You know, the naked people walking behind the screen had that happen a few times.
Yes.
Most recently, some guy had a bong right next to him when he turned on the,
pretty crazy.
You know, like
we've had someone drunk on an interview, which was interesting, or meth. I don't know, but one of them, he was on something.
And I think I've had a few of those.
And I was like, ooh, okay, this is crazy. But you know, we deal with people, so it's like I always tell, you know, my clients and, you know, even candidates, because like not every business owner is perfect as well.
Right.
But business owners where I had a business owner that took a launch call with my team, and he had his girl on top of him, which is insane. True story. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And my team is so kind. And they didn't know what to say, so they just kept going with
it. No way!
Yeah, so it's like a 45-minute call with this guy with a girl on top of him, and he's just like, yeah, keep going. It's all good. She's just sleeping, and yeah, I didn't know what to say. So I'm just like in my head, I'm like, dude, if I was a fucking person trying to interview with you, this would be so embarrassing. Some people have not only low social EQ, but they're just so inconsiderate that it's like if you're inconsiderate and you have low social EQ, it's a dangerous place to be, whether you're a candidate or a business owner.
Yeah.
Cool. So last thing is, where can people find you? Where can they find your company? And if they wanted to connect with you and they're like, hey, you know, Remote Latinos is cool, but we don't want to do any other work. We'd rather just offset this to you guys.
Yeah, they can definitely still talk to you. I'm sure you'll send them my way. But our Instagram is really hot, you know, HAVA Colombia, HAVA Colombia. And then our website is www.hava.com.co.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people find us through Instagram. So, you know, if you go to our link tree, you can see if you're a client, you can, you know, fill out my new client job form. And if you're an agent and want to get hired, you can fill out that job form as well.
Bang. Guys, remember, we're going to make America remote again. Thank you for watching the episode. And like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Boom. Jen,
that was great.